All right, guys. So happy to have you here again in Cleveland, in your hometown. Obviously, not for you, but still a bit
to
of.
have you here.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So you wrote another book together, which is really, really nice. At least it looks nice, like we said, and probably the content is wonderful as well. But could you tell us, in short, the core message of the book?
Well, I think what we've been seeing with content marketing, and it's been great, an awesome revolution. You got more companies getting into it, but generally content has been serving marketing, which is fine. We don't have a problem with that. That's how most of us do it. But we really believe that building audiences, which that's why we create content, to build audiences, will create all kinds of different business models in the future. And really what we talk about in the book is we believe that marketing itself could and probably should be a profit center. Which when you tell most marketers that, they're like, what, are you kidding me? But we believe it can be a profit center and it can drive multiple lines of revenue, new products and services that we never thought possible, because we're not focusing on, okay, we want to sell this product or service and we're going to create all this content around it. It's going to be great. We're saying, well, let's build the audience. And when we know that audience better than anything else, then we can launch all kinds of different products and services and even become a media company behind that, and sponsorships and events. And that's what we're starting to see. And Killing Marketing is the playbook for how to make that happen in your organization.
Nice one. And have you seen this happening over the course of the last few years? Or is this something that is like from the last year and a half or something? Or
It's one of those things where it's been, as Joe and I have said many times, this is something that's probably a year and a half in the writing and 10 years in the making, right? So we have been working on content marketing for the last 17 years in varying degrees. What we've seen, though, over the last, call it 5 years, is the complete fragmentation of audiences across mobile and social and now Internet of Things, and just so many different ways to reach customers. And so the question becomes, how are you going to continue to reach customers in today's very fragmented world? And so really it requires something that hasn't been done, quite frankly, since the Mad Men days, which is a fundamental rethinking of the process of marketing. How do we actually go to market with our products? For the last 40, 50, 60 years, we've created a creative brief, created a brand, created a product, and then tried to reach content and audiences on so many different channels. And now what we're saying is, wonder if that's completely reversed. What if we should actually create content and build an audience and then figure out how to merchandise to them with the things that they want to buy? Because right now the thing is, we can't really get any more ownership of audiences across all these different channels. The opportunity we have is to build an audience from scratch and let them become trusting of us so that we can sell them things that we want to sell them.
If we look at the book and beautiful cover with a skull, and most business books are about building something, who came up with the title Killing Marketing?
That's a good question, actually. The original title for the book was Marketing as a Profit Center, which is exactly which is exactly what it is. But you're right; it is completely boring. It's a university textbook.
That's right,
and it's not really going to sell. But when I don't know. Was it you or me?
I'm giving the Godfather of Orange.
I think I ran it by Robert and I said, I think this is a bigger issue than we're even giving it credit for, because we were like, oh yeah, we were thinking this is an evolution of content marketing. Oh, of course, we should be selling different things. We should be looking at our customers differently. But then we're like, no, this is what we're calling for is a dismantling of the marketing department as we see it today. Right. And we believe that innovative organizations, the ones that are the Apples of the world, the General Electrics of the world, the P&Gs of the world that are really going to get this, they're going to be taking this strategy and they're going to we're going to be seeing something different than marketing than we've ever seen before. So that's why we were like, let's just say what it is. We want to kill the marketing that most companies out there are doing, and we want to reshape it with what we believe is the new business model and what Robert was saying, really around building audiences. And that what we can do as organizations around that is so much bigger than just, I'm a content marketing director. This is, I could be responsible for the future business model of our organization. So I believe the future of business in general is actually coming from marketing, and specifically coming from the content creation person who's running strategy in the organization. So it's a bold claim, but I actually believe in 5-10 years, that's what we're going to see happen.
Absolutely. And both of you, all of us, we see a lot of companies. Are they ready to kill?
Absolutely not. No, not at all. Most companies these days are still stuck in the Mad Men campaign centric. We still, in most organizations, use these battle war metaphors like campaigns and front lines and tactics and all these things to describe really taking our product and service to market, which is how do we describe the value in ever clever ways? And what we're talking about is really fundamentally asking a question, what if everything you know about marketing is what's holding you back? And most companies are not, quite frankly, ready to address that question fundamentally yet. We actually have a chapter in the book where we talk about, look, we understand that this is a big step. And here are some of the first steps that you can take to iterate in this direction, because we realize that most legacy companies are not going to be able to upend their marketing department tomorrow. But if there are some small steps we can take along the way to iterate toward that, well, then we can start to evolve into a new kind of marketing.
So it's about disrupting, it's about destroying before to improve, obviously. How many companies are ready? You said not a lot, but would you give an example of a company that has gone on that path, if you will?
Well, there are a number of small examples that we're starting to see. So if you look at just last year, Mondelez and Pepsi both came out and said they're building content studios, and a portion of their marketing around that are going to be for profit. So they're going to generate this content. They're going to create a profit from that. We all know the Red Bull Media House example, sort of maybe one of the older examples of, hey, we're going to create a media company inside. What I like about that example that most people don't realize is that's not a marketing function for them. They're actually judged as a media company. They're judged on a for-profit basis. So that's interesting. If you say, okay, in the B2B electronics field, who's the largest media company in that industry? It's not a media company. It's Arrow Electronics. They're basically the Amazon.com of selling electronics equipment. They reach 76% of their addressable audience. That's amazing. They have 52 different brands that's focused on targeting electronic engineers. So we're starting to see these examples. Cleveland Clinic here in this area, they have generated more than 7 figures in revenue from their blog. So if you start to put this together, you're thinking, wow, a little example here, a little example there. What if they actually had the executive team behind it? What if they actually said, look, we're going to treat our customers differently. We're going to communicate with our customers differently, which is the only thing we can differentiate with. People they're going to copy our products, our services. Everything we do can be copied today, except for how we communicate. And I think this is exactly the way to do it.
In these examples, did they start out with the object of being a profit center, or did it just evolve that way?
Initially, Cleveland Clinic is a good example. That evolved that direction. Like, oh, well, wow, we've got 3 million people on our blog now, and we're getting people that actually want to advertise on our site. And Google wants to syndicate our content. Wow, didn't see that coming. So basically they said, look, we want to build an audience, but then they didn't anticipate all the products and services that would come from that. The Arrow Electronics example is different. 2 years ago, they said, the media in our industry is dying. And if we don't become the media, if we don't step in and start investing in these media brands, it's going to hurt our business. So that was the number one. They said, okay, we are going to invest. We are going to buy these brands. And the goal ultimately will be, yes, of course, we want to educate our customers and more, but this is going to be a profitable entity unto itself. And they've been able to, over the last couple of years, actually make that more profitable. So Arrow is kind of a unique example. I think we're going to see more mergers and acquisitions in this area to see that. But for the most part, they start getting a little taste of success, and then the chief marketing officer or somebody in the executive ranks sees it, smells it. Like, oh, you're starting to generate revenue. There's something good going on over here. Maybe we should do more of that. And then the content marketer, sort of the spotlight is on that person. And some good things can happen and some bad things can happen. But I think if you hold strong, some really good things can happen.
So follow the money.
I think follow the audience.
Always, yeah.
Actually, follow the audience. If you build a loyal and it's actually a really simple concept. If you create a loyal and trusted audience, that audience will buy from you. Yeah. The thing is, they might not buy the product you have right now. No. That's the differences in what we're doing. We always generally start from content marketing as here's what we want to sell, and we're like, no. Let's focus on the needs and the wants of the audience first, and what we can sell needs to come secondary, and that's a very tough thing for businesses to do.
And create the consumer as you go along and educate the buyer.
Exactly.
I understand. Yeah.
So you talk about progress, the shift in marketing minds from a cost center to a profit center. Yeah. Which industries mostly are in the forefront as real true examples, consumer, B2B?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of examples in the B2C space, as you might expect. I mean, Joe mentioned a couple of them, right? So you look at Red Bull, you look at Kraft, you look ultimately at a company like General Electric, which is obviously B2B and B2C. But then we start to see B2B organizations like Arrow Electronics really leading the way here. We start to see financial services companies like Capital One. We start to see companies like the Capital Group, which is an industrial financial services to institutional advisors and investors, really starting to change the way that they go to market and look at an audience-first strategy. If I were to generally say which industries are sort of early adopters of this, I see financial services, I see B2B manufacturers, weirdly and oddly, and I see the B2C companies. And really, if we look at those companies, they are some of the ones that are under the most duress in terms of becoming commoditized in today's digitized world, right? So those that are actually under the most duress are usually those that want to innovate the fastest. And so I think if you just generally look and say which industries are hurting the most, those are the ones that you're going to find that are most eager to look at new and innovative ways of structuring their marketing strategy.
But if it hurts, it can also go towards panic, and it's not really the solution. I mean, we see a lot of companies, also smaller B2B companies, where you see entrepreneurs, and they have that flexibility and the power and the guts, I'd say, to go this path.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is Joe's book, Content Inc. in a nutshell, right? Where he talks about how startup companies have a bit of an advantage here because they have nothing to unwind, right? There's nothing. And so, and so they can actually really start and emerge from a audience first, content first mindset, and then discover the products that they can actually sell to them. And you can see this happening. Mint is a great example of this, where Mint started literally as a blog to teach people personal finance, and then ultimately decided which financial services and products they would sell to them, and then ultimately sold to Intuit, a big legacy brand. And so startups do have an advantage here. Smaller companies definitely have an advantage.
So the big question basically is how to kill marketing. Is it a slow death, a clean cut, or is it a big bloody mess?
That's a tough question.
It's a fun metaphor, but a tough question.
I think that in most companies, we see all the great examples of the Apple and Amazon doing so well. But there's a lot of haves and have-nots going on right now in the economy. And the have-nots are, to your point, they're going to struggle. And they're like they're grasping at whatever innovation that they can find. The biggest issue with the whole idea of killing marketing has really nothing to do with marketing. It's all about change management. How fast can you move the big ship? So if it's a small company, great opportunity. You can hit the ground running, and you can do this right now. It takes time to build an audience, but you can make it happen. Where I would say the opportunity is, so it's not so bloody as you say. What we've known, and we've been working with a lot of billion-dollar enterprise businesses, they have a lot of cash sitting on the sidelines. We talk about this in a chapter of the book. We think that a really good usage of cash right now is to go out and purchase media companies, blogs, and influencer sites, because it does take so long and so much patience to build an audience. And some of these larger enterprises don't feel like they have the time. They may not have the time. They're public companies. What do we do? Well, we've got multi-million dollars sitting on the sidelines. What are we going to do? Well, go out and where are your customers at? Go out and buy those audience now, like Arrow Electronics did, and you can set yourself up to be in whatever niche audience that you want to be with, the trusted expert immediately. So I think that will sort of, you can work it. You can absolutely put all the time and energy in it, and it'll take 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and it'll be a lot of pain. Or you could acquire that and work on the pain of integration, which I think could be faster.
And fast track your way to your audience. Exactly. Yeah, I understand.
I mean, we could talk hours and even days with both of you about this subject. We've got a few more questions. We're trying to fast forward through them. Talking about killing.
In other words, answer shorter.
Maybe less questions. Oh God, never.
You don't have short answers.
No, you don't. But it's valuable. But I mean, killing needs an executioner.
Yes.
Who's gonna be the executioner in the company, outside?
I really hope it's the C-suite. I mean, I really hope it's the CEO or the CMO. I think in many ways the CMO has become such a complex job, right? Because these days the CMO is not only the lead politician for managing different marketing groups, but it's also the lead technical person who needs to handle the digitization of the business. It's also the person who's handling the paid and earned media. And so and the chief storyteller for the business. And so the CMO has almost become too complex in many ways. But on the flip side of that, the CMO has also in many ways abdicated their responsibility for taking that big strategic step. Most CMOs earn their tenure by saying no. And so I think the CMOs that are going to truly innovate in the business are the ones that are going to say yes and actually become the executioner of fundamentally shifting that. And if it's not the CMO, then it needs to be the CEO, because this is a business strategy. As we say, content is a business strategy that marketing people perform.
Yeah.
And so if it's not looked at that way, then it will fail.
Yeah, true.
So now we kill marketing. Can we kill sales next?
Actually, we were
That's so
just
funny.
talking about that because if you're killing marketing, right along with it is going to be sales. Sales and marketing are integrated. Obviously, we come from the marketing side, but because even in content marketing world, as we're here today, we have so many integration sessions that are going on because you can't have one without the other. And most of our sales, not that we're both salespeople, but most of our sales are more online and they're self-directed sales. So I really believe killing marketing, it could easily have been called killing sales, or maybe will be in 2 years.
You never
as
know.
we come up with the next.
We'll see how it sells.
Exactly.
So
See what I did there? See how I
Yeah,
did
exactly.
that?
Very smooth.
That's good idea. It was
Very
all-
smooth, very
that was the whole
smooth.
thing.
Yeah.
I should get a job in marketing.
Yeah, you should do something with that. So if you kill marketing and you kill sales, then you probably should rebrand both of them into something else. Would that be growth function, or would that be something else, or what's your take on that?
I think that marketing is going to drive the future business model in almost every organization that employs the strategy. Which, if you say that to any CEO, they'll be like, "You're crazy," because usually marketing is just
Spending money.
do my brochure, make it look pretty, make sure the brand is right. That we need to move away from that and say, what are our consumers thinking? Who are our customers? What are their wants and needs? You know where that comes from? That comes from marketing. Like it or not. And so that's where I think what we're going to sell in the future is going to be dictated by the information and insight that we get from our audiences.
So that's a far leap from the make it pretty department.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's why in some companies this could be a couple years, but in all honesty, this is probably a 5 or 10 years down the road. But what we will see is the media companies of the future, like it or not, are going to be on the brand side. They're probably going to be Fortune 500 companies, and they're going to be the ones that get the strategy and employ it.
In the book, you cover marketing principles, new marketing principles that we've been talking about in the past 10 or 17 years.
Yeah.
Audience building, audience first is a big one. How far are we in understanding that an audience is an asset for a company? Like every publisher understands, but other companies don't. How far are we?
I think we're getting close because, in fact, we've got new research. Just the CMI's new research this year shows that the idea of audience building is becoming the number one idea of how they're driving value. And it's something that we're seeing certainly in all of the strategies that we're helping with, which is building an audience and understanding that audience from data rich to targeted to being able to value them is becoming the primary driver of a metric, right? And that primary driver of a metric is not only just a content marketing value. Even if I was talking with a CEO the other day and I said to him, I said, look, even if the only value you get out of the audience is to understand how your paid media is performing, you need to do that. Facebook's not giving you good answers. They're under scrutiny for false answers. Google's having to give refunds for ad fraud. All of the publishers are getting under scrutiny for delivering bots and fraud. I said, even if the only value you get out of it is an accurate count of where your paid media is, isn't that worth it? And he said, yeah. And I said, then it's worth, then now we're agreed that an audience strategy is smart, and the rest, everything else is just how big that strategy is going to be.
So what if companies don't kill marketing? What will happen?
Look at the Fortune 500 list today and look at it 5 years ago, and then look at it 50 years ago. I mean, you have more change in the last 5 years than you have in the previous 45. And what we're going to see is this is going to accelerate. This kind of strategy will accelerate those companies to be bigger and stronger because they're going to know their audiences better, and they're going to launch new products and services. I mean, what's amazing to me is Amazon.com winning Emmy Awards, investing in all this original content, being in businesses that they have no right to be in. How does that happen? They have their finger on the pulse of a number of audiences. That's, I think, what we're going to see. Amazon is probably a great example of, I can't believe they're that big. And they're what, a $500 billion company right now, market cap? Those are the things that you're going to start to happen. And if I'm a company that's not employing this, honestly, I'm a little fearful. I'm a little fearful that, okay, well, I'm going to get every little bit I can out of my distraction, interruption, advertising strategy, and we're just going to go down with the ship.
But
I think that's unfortunate. I think that's where we're at, and you're going to see an even further acceleration of that Fortune 500 company, and there's going to be 400 new names on it, and a lot of them are going to be employing the strategy.
But like Robert said, you have a lot of professional C-suite naysayers. They will probably say, well, sure, Google is investing, or Apple is investing $1 billion in 10 original TV series, but those are big media companies already. What can we do if we are that local company? Yeah, exactly.
But they weren't. That's the wonderful thing, right? Is that if you look at what we would call the four horsemen, right? So Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. And if you look at those four companies, which now represent, I don't know how much market cap, but you look at those companies, none of them started as media companies. Sure. Google started as a search company, as a technology company, as a software company. Apple starts and still is a hardware manufacturing company. If we look at Amazon, started as an online bookstore. And then we look at Facebook, who has spent years denying that they were a media company and have now decided that they're going to invest in media. None of these companies invested in media. And here's the most interesting thing. All of those companies that I just mentioned are investing billions of dollars into original content. None of them are looking at it as new product development. All of those costs go where? To the marketing cost line in their business. They're all looking at the creation of original content as a marketing cost because they understand that it gives them the thing that's most valuable, an audience.
And that's why they reap like 70% of all the advertisement dollars that are out there.
Google and Facebook alone account for 96% of all of the new digital advertising spend. I mean, that's an amazing statistic.
Yeah.
We saved the hottest question for last for you, killers of marketing.
Nice.
Robert mentioned metrics. I mean, the big word. We're really surprised when we prepared this interview, like, why isn't there yet a blueprint where people just say, okay, you need all these metrics in your funnel and you have your dashboard ready. It seems to be still a kind of a cocktail that people find hard to construct.
Oh, thank you for asking that question.
Mm-hmm. I think he has an answer.
There is a framework that will be announced
really?
here at the Content Marketing Institute
really?
that talks about the valuation of audiences. Yeah, I mean, and I'm only half joking because we actually did create this. We've been working for the last 18 months to create a dashboard of the view of a monetization of audiences. How do we actually look at targeted audiences as a baseline dashboard metric to look at how they're targeted, are they engaged, are they subscribed, are they addressable, and how much data do we have on them? Because the data is how we monetize them. And so if we take all of that and put it into a framework, we can start to look at a value per subscriber. And if we take that value per subscriber and approach it to our process, whatever our process is for our business, lead generation, building subscribers, increasing increasing loyalty or decreasing churn, now we can apply that value to the business goal that we have. And you take that value per subscriber against the business goal, and now you have a delta of where you need to focus your audience development efforts. And so, yeah, there's more to come on that. And I'm sure
sounds solid. I'm curious.
a lovely, wonderful book called Killing Marketing in stores.
Shameless plug right
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, well, it's not shameless. But seriously, I mean, Joe, you and I have a background in publishing, and when we acquired or sold companies, sometimes it was as easy as so many subscribers multiplied by so many €100 or dollars, and that was the price of the asset. Can it be that simple as the end value, the asset?
I in some cases, I think it can be that simple. I think the difference is, are we going to look at the audience as our pre-customer database? Our friend Andrew Davis has been saying that for years. What is a subscription database? It is a future list of our customers. They're just not our customers yet. So the first step, and you talked about the C-suite looking, you have to make that jump and actually believe that all this data that you're gathering is actually going to be worth something. I think once you do that, it really is not overcomplicated, and Robert's working on a model that I think will make it easier. But the biggest step is we have to change and look at it this way instead of here's the product we want to sell and here's how we get it out. Okay, we want leads and funnel and the whole thing, which, as we said, is fine. But there's a better way, and I think marketing's more important than that.
Absolutely. I said last question, but we're Dutch, so there's always something after that.
Just one more.
A small question. I mean, the two of you together, yeah, exactly. The two of you together have written, what is it, 6, 7 marketing books that are bestsellers.
Something like that.
Is this?
It's
37, 38
near
books?
50.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think.
something.
What, 100 books? That's incredible.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
It's wow.
Is this the last book? The ultimate?
No, I don't think it is. I'm certainly, I mean, you can ask him his answer to this question. For me, I'm just getting started with this because I think we're in the early innings of this. We have a long way to evolve, as we've just talked about. And I think the idea of evolving marketing is certainly worth more than one book. We hope this is the catalyst of a new idea.
Normally, killing is the end, Robert.
That's not the whole point, though. That's the whole point.
It's only mostly dead.
It's only mostly dead.
Mostly dead.
Right.
The zombies of marketing.
That's right. So the point is that it is a catalyst in the sense that it's killing something, but is then what is it that replaces it? Because something must replace it. And as we move forward, I think there are not just from us, but there will be innumerable books that come out that really cover the idea of how business evolves to have content at its core as a marketing and communication strategy. Yeah.
Joe, on the theme of last book, you want to add something?
I actually thought that Content Inc. was going to be my last marketing book for a while. I'm like, that's the one that I wanted to tell. That's the story I wanted to tell. And then we started talking about a year ago, and we're like, this marketing as a profit center, this is a huge issue. And of course, then I got really excited about the idea, and we started working on it. And then, of course, came up with the book concept. So I'll say, oh yeah, this will probably be the last marketing book that I work on. And then him and I are going to start talking about something else and go say, hey, oh my gosh, we got to deal with this issue. So anything new really, excites me in the marketing area, and I'll probably want to get my hands dirty in it, and we'll go from there. It sounds like Killing Sales is the next one.
That are bicycles.
We better go take the domain now.
Yeah.
That are bicycles.
Well, thanks, guys. I mean, there's a conference waiting for you. So
About 4,000 people breaking down the doors in a minute. So,
exactly. Showing the book, Killing Marketing. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the answers. And truly looking forward to the next book.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks.
There you go.
Bum, 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 and give me a dream. La, la.